4,700. That's how many Instagram followers a World Cup defender had on May 27, 2026. 11 days later, he had more than 5 million. He didn't score a goal, he didn't sign for a bigger club, he didn't do anything at all. Someone just called him a name. Here's what actually happened. Minute by careless minute, and the mechanism hiding underneath it. One you'll start noticing everywhere once you see it here. Tim Payne plays for Wellington Phoenix. He's been capped for New Zealand since 2012. 14 years in the system. Over 50 appearances for his country. This isn't some kid plucked from obscurity. He is obscurity, by football's usual standards. Solid, unglamorous, exactly the kind of player nobody outside his own country could name. On May 28th, an Argentine content creator named Valen Scarsini went through every squad at the 2026 World Cup, looking for the player with the smallest digital footprint. He landed on Payne, posted a video calling him the least known player in the entire tournament. Within a day, Payne's followers jumped from under 5,000 to over 550,000. Not because anyone had watched him play, because the internet had just been handed a target. Within 3 days, 3.2 million. Stop and sit with that number for a second. 3.2 million people, following a Wellington Phoenix defender, most of whom had never seen him kick a ball. By early June, 5 million. By mid-June, 5.8. Now here's the part that should bother you. Because this isn't a story about football talent going viral. This is a story about a psychological mechanism with a name, and researchers who mapped it out decades before Instagram existed. In 1968, Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson ran an experiment now known as the Pygmalion effect. Teachers were told certain random students were intellectual bloomers, destined to improve. Those students had been picked completely at random. But by the end of the year, they actually outperformed their classmates. Not because they were smarter, because the label changed how everyone around them behaved. Payne got labeled too. Not gifted, the opposite. Least known. And that label did something almost identical. It didn't change his ability. It changed how millions of strangers decided to treat him. There's a second mechanism running underneath the first one. Robert Zajonc, 1968 again, called it the mere exposure effect. The simple finding that the more you see something, the more you tend to like it, regardless of its actual qualities. Every retweet of Payne's name was another exposure. Every meme was another exposure. By the time 5 million people were following him, most of them weren't following a footballer. They were following a feeling they'd already built themselves, one repetition at a time. Now compare that to a completely different kind of unknown becoming beloved overnight. May 31st, 2002. Seoul. The opening match of that year's World Cup. Senegal, appearing at the tournament for the first time in their history, lined up against France, the reigning world champions. Nobody outside West Africa could have named a single Senegalese player before kickoff. Papa Bouba Diop scored the only goal. Senegal won 1-0. And by full time, the entire planet knew who they were. That affection was real too, but it was built on something Payne's never was, an actual act, on an actual pitch, against an actual giant. The football did the work first. The story came after, earned rather than assigned. Payne's story ran in the opposite direction entirely. The story came first. The football, whatever he did in New Zealand's 2-2 draw with Iran in Los Angeles, was almost irrelevant to it. Solid, unspectacular, exactly what he'd played for 14 years, to almost nobody watching. Nobody cared. The 5 million were already there before he'd kicked the ball once at this tournament. That's the part that should sit uneasily with you. Two players, both suddenly adored by strangers who'd never seen them before. One earned it in 90 minutes against the best team on the planet. The other earned nothing. He simply existed in the exact shape of a sentence somebody else wrote about him. Later that June, Payne and Scarsini actually met in person. Payne gave him a New Zealand kit. Thanked him for everything. For himself, his family, his country's football. A nice moment. But also quiet proof of something uncomfortable. The man who accidentally created a global underdog didn't do it with scouting knowledge, or footage, or a single tactical insight. He did it with one sentence, aimed at exactly the right emptiness. A name with almost nothing attached to it yet, which meant millions of people could attach whatever they wanted to it instead. Compare that empty space to the account sitting at the very top of the sport. Cristiano Ronaldo, over 600 million followers. Lionel Messi, over 500 million. Built across 2 decades of trophies, transfers, and unmistakable brilliance on the pitch. Match after match, proof stacked on proof. Payne built 5.8 million in less time than most players spend in preseason training. Not with brilliance. With absence. With a gap the internet could not resist filling in. So next time some algorithm hands you a name you've never heard, a player, a face, a nobody worth rallying behind, ask yourself what you actually know about them. Or whether you just liked the shape of the gap where that knowledge should have been.